Against Donald Trump, but are willing to give him a chance. Is the appointment of Steve Bannon a step backwards for the Trump administration? Back with me now, Kurt Bardella, Evan McMullen, and Joel Pollak. Kurt, I want to ask you about this. This is Kellyanne Conway, what she says about Steve Bannon.
That I work very closely with Steve Bannon. He's been the general of this campaign, and frankly, people should look at the full resume. He's got a Harvard business degree. He's a naval officer. He has success in entertainment. I don't know if you're aware of that. And he certainly was a Goldman Sachs managing partner. Brilliant tactician. I'm personally offended that you think I would manage a campaign where that would be one of the going philosophies. It was not.
I've heard several Trump surrogates on, giving those exact same talking points on air today, almost in the exact order that she said it. But do you think that Donald Trump is being tone deaf to millions of Americans who are fearful about a Trump presidency because of someone like Steve Bannon?
Yeah, I don't think Donald Trump cares at all about those people. I think the paradigm that Steve and Mr. Trump, I think, view the world through is they won the election, they did it their way, and the onus is on everybody else to adapt to how they think, not on them to try to evolve or change based on the enormity of being the President of the United States and the virtual co-chief of staff. I think that they think everybody else needs to come around. They don't need to do anything else.
That's usually not how it works.
No,
it's usually not what we ask presidents to do.
And I think that's one of the real concerns.
Or leaders, any sort of politician.
I think that's where they're setting themselves up for failure, is not having that humility and understanding the gravity of the job that's going to be before them. And I think at some point, President-elect Trump is going to be in over his head. We're seeing already stories about how President Obama wants to spend more time with Mr. Trump to prepare him to be commander-in-chief because it was so obvious in their meeting and their conversation he wasn't up for it yet.
Yeah. Evan, Donald Trump told his supporters who are harassing minorities to stop it, but you say that doesn't mean much when he brings in someone like Bannon into the West Wing. Should Trump address these concerns?
Well, yes, I think he should, and I think he has tried to a degree. But if you're going to continue with Steve Bannon, then those actions speak louder than any words you might give. And I will say, Don, that I think the discussion about whether Bannon is an anti-Semite, whether he is a white supremacist, all of that's a little even off the point. I think the real question is, what are the ideas that our leaders advance? Mm-hmm. And our leaders now are advancing ideas, at least with the appointment of Steve Bannon, who advanced the ideas of the alt-right as a part of Breitbart, are advancing ideas that are enormously destructive and divisive in our country, that violate the foundation principles upon which our country was founded. It's hard to say, to look into a man's heart and say exactly what they believe or feel. We'll never know. But it's about the ideas that they advance. And one thing is very clear, Steve Bannon has advanced the ideas of the alt-right. He knows that his business has been setting up or furthering a platform for their ideas. And Donald Trump has got to repudiate that. And it's not possible to do that if Steve Bannon's your chief strategist.
And I also realize that by doing that, he may have normalized the alt-right in some way, normalized
sure.
white nationalism, which should not be normalized. So listen,
absolutely.
Joel, earlier we spoke about the article on Breitbart.com, An Establishment Conservative's Guide to Alt-Right. It's a very long and sympathetic description of the movement, which includes this. I'm going to read this. It says, meanwhile, the alt-right openly cracks jokes about the Holocaust, loudly, albeit almost entirely satirically, expresses its horror at race mixing and denounces the degeneracy of homosexuals while inviting Jewish, gays, and mixed-race Breitbart reporters to their secret dinner parties. What gives? If you're this far down the article, you'll know some of the answers already. For the Meme Brigade, it's just about having fun. They have no real problem with race mixing, homosexuality, or even diverse societies. It's just fun to watch the mayhem and the outrage that erupts when those secular shibboleths are openly mocked. So I'm just reading this now. So, making fun and joking about the Holocaust, calling gays degenerate, I mean, being horrified by race mixing, and it's all just fun, how is that okay?
That's not okay. That's called journalism. That article describes some of what was going on in the alt-right, and you just said that that's the first time that you read that article. I mean, I would have expected you would have read the entire article before coming on the air and making outrageous claims.
Well,
like Alvin.
But let me hold on here. I don't read a lot of Breitbart because, quite frankly, I'm offended by a lot of what they put up there. I have read it, I haven't read every single article on Breitbart, and I'm sure you haven't read every single article on Breitbart as well. My question to you is that why he is promoting this, he is saying that his website is the platform for the alt-right. And this article on that website is part of the thing that's saying, hey, this is what they do. They make fun of people, and they really don't care about it.
You should read the entire article. I think the article stands for itself. I think it goes through the different components of the alt-right. It's called journalism. The New Yorker does it. The New York Times does it. CNN occasionally does it. And for Evan McMullin to sit there and not apologize for his lie about calling Steve Bannon an anti-Semite and then lie again by saying that Steve Bannon advocates for the ideas of the alt-right. I'd like to see Evan McMullin name one single idea of the alt-right that Steve Bannon has ever advocated for. I'll give you time to do it. You don't have to do it on this broadcast.
Joel, let me ask you, has Steve Bannon ever said that Breitbart was a platform for the alt-right?
I think he said that to Mother Jones, but what I can tell you is this. There is a distinction. I think there's a distinction between covering the alt-right and defending it. And the fact is that people on the alt-right are sharing Breitbart articles.
That's not what he
something
said.
we can do anything
he
about.
Said, he didn't say we cover the alt-right. He said we are the platform for the alt-right.
Well, he said that, and I defy you to explain what that means. You have two guests on there who suggested.
What could it possibly mean?
That's why we have you on. What else could it mean?
So what you guys have said, hold on, the suggestion is that Breitbart is a white nationalist website. We've disproved that. The suggestion is that Steve Bannon, yes, we have. You cannot name what, you have not named you've had a lot of time to do research, and you haven't come up with one white nationalist article at Breitbart. You've said that Steve Bannon is an anti-Semite, yet you haven't provided any.
Put this up. No, I want you to look at this. This is a headline from Breitbart after the church shootings in Charleston. Hoist it high and proud. The Confederate flag proclaims a glorious heritage. It didn't say it should be. You should hoist it high and proud from every church and everywhere. So what is that?
That's not what the article said, but the article is a defense of the Confederate flag as an historical symbol, and there are people at other websites and other newspapers who've made the same argument. That was an argument made by Democrats for a long time, and that is an argument that this deserves to be seen as separate from the Charleston massacre, and that's a legitimate argument. And I think if you can go to David French at National Review Online and read the same argument. It happens to be an argument that lost.
Okay.
But
here's what it says.
What you're doing
Here's what it says. It's hoisted high and proud. Every tree, every rooftop, every picket fence, every telegraph pole in the South should be festooned with the Confederate battle flag.
That's not white nationalist. What you're talking about is an opinion about the Confederate flag as a symbol of history, which used to be commonly accepted in the South. It's not something that I think is a good idea, but it is part of... Yeah, but Kurt Bardella, you know that Steve Bannon is not a white nationalist. You know that he's not an anti-Semite, and yet that's the premise on which you've come on the air to smear him. So now that we've established that you can't prove that he's an anti-Semite...
I've never heard Kurt say that.
You cannot establish... Look, the Zionist Organization of America has come out in defense of Steve Bannon and said that he's pro-Israel and that he has empathy for the Jewish people. And you guys have no answer to that, and you've used up this precious airtime, to basically smear a man and smear a website. And now that you can't prove the point. Excuse me, Kurt, you would do better to listen with your ears instead of your mouth.
Wow.
Okay.
It's
good to.
Go put your big boy pants on now.
We're all going to have to listen to the commercial break with our ears. Thank you very much. I have to